Russell Ingall has pole position. Paul Morris is on the front row of the grid as well for the first time in his V8 supercar career. Then you've got Radisich and Tander, McLean and Longhurst, Ellery and Greg Murphy.
Yeah, that weather really mixed things up in the top 10 shootout. Stephen Johnson and Jason Bright both coming to grief. Brad Jones missing out on the top 10 by about 2/100ths of a second. Mark Larkham in 12th. John Bower and Cameron McConville was right up there early in the session. Mark Scaife got it all wrong toward the end of that qualifying session, put him down in 15th alongside Todd Kelly.
The Shell Helix starting grid rolls on. Dougal McDougall in the Pepsi-Cola racing car. Marcus Ambrose in his first run at this track. Bargwanna and Wheels, Seaton and Perkins, Jason Richards from Team Kiwi Racing and David Bernard as well in 24th position.
Capacity field here at Winton. Stephen Richards and Paul Romano. Craig Lowndes, boy, he got it wrong yesterday too. Right back there in 27th. Rodney Forbes alongside in the Gibson Motorsport car. John Faulkner and Anthony Tradd, Eddie Abel Nisa and James Brock will start off the back of the grid. Here's the green flag. They're getting ready to go racing.
So round 10 of the Shell Championship Series. Race 1 is about to get underway. You've got Paul Morris and Russell Ingall on the front row of the grid. As we get ready for a race start, they're off. And Ingall seems to have got a good start. Morris is up there with him as well. Nice clean start. This is where it'll get interesting. Turn 1 was disaster throughout qualifying. Do they all get through? Clearly no. Cameron McLean, Tony Longhurst, Stephen Ellery's also gone as well. One of the Holden Racing car team has gone through, and Marcus Ambrose has missed both of those turns altogether.
Oh, look, and down there, that's the Kiwi car, and oh boy, that's
some pretty significant players.
Anthony Tradd.
Your Perkins is off, Jones, McLean, Jason Bright was tangled up, Marcus Ambrose went through the grass. There was a pile of people, and somewhere in the triggering process, Tony Longhurst was one of the early people out in that as well.
Yeah, you can see Tony coming running down the inside on the brakes. I'd like to see the replay there, but there were so many cars involved, you've really got to pick it to pieces in slow motion. Meanwhile, they continue. Russell Ingall leading this one. There's Craig Lowndes, managed to survive that first lap tangle. But look at the number of quality cars there are back in the pack. Glenn Seaton.
Fastest man in this morning's warm-up after a tough day yesterday. Didn't get onto slicks early enough, and he's got a lot of damage there. And the front left.
Front left is come unhooked.
45 degrees tow out on it.
Yep. Yeah, problems there for Seaton. He actually had a collision with Paul Romano yesterday, which put him out of the running. So he's having a terrible weekend at Winton. Look at this attack under brakes by Tander on the Shell Ford. This is up round turn 5, turn 6, turn 11, and coming onto the pit straight. Now here's Seaton. Is he going to be able to limp his way back to the pits? Boy, he's got a long way to go. And look at the damage on that Ford.
Oh, what a yo-yo of a weekend for Glenn Seaton. Only managed 2 laps in practice before he had some trouble, then had a lot of trouble in qualifying. But this morning in the warm-up seemed to post a pretty good time as well.
Look at this.
Oh, one of the Valvoline Cummings cars just goes wide. That's Tander. Managed to get it back up as he heads up along to turn 3.
You have to keep in mind the amount of water and mud and garbage on the road from that little incident down there, and obviously Garth has somehow found himself really tied up in it all.
The trouble is when you get to find out it's too muddy, and that is
Kelly's
too
off.
late.
This is going to be the story of the race. Look how icy it is off the racing line there. That grass is just so slippery. We're going to see a number of safety cars here as someone managed to get a bolt, not only on the grass, but on the numerous sand traps. Here's a replay of the incident. Well, it's a bit late.
It was all happening by then. Steve Ellery was in there in the middle as well. Look at
Take a look at Marcus Ambrose. just going cross country to rejoin the pack along the way. So he just made it inside there.
That was a good
unbelievable.
Jason Bright did a good job to get it through. This is it. This is the disaster zone. Turn 1.
No, there was contact. Ellery.
Ellery's touched the back of Longhurst, I think you'll find.
Brad Jones was also a victim. He went off on the other side of the track.
Oh, Larry Perkins as well got a good whack out of that.
So there's Jones. Wow. There was about 6 or 7 cars involved in that. Neil, you would have seen it yesterday as they went through qualifying and practice. Everyone seemed to have a spin off turn 1, whether it was wet or dry.
It's a quite awkward little bit of road down there because there's also a huge bump in it, Matthew, and Larry Perkins, his car covered in mud. He was one of those tangled up in the turn 1 incident, so he's now almost a lap down on his teammate and race leader Russell Ingall. The only guy that's actually running with him at the moment appears to be Morris, and there's a huge margin back to the rest of them. We'll tidy it all up for you. We've got Murphy 3rd, then Johnson, McConville, Larkham, Scaife in 7th, Bower, Bargwanna, McDougall, Tander, Richards, Wheel. Lowndes is now up to 14th after starting 27th.
It'd be interesting to see if Larry gives Russell a bit of a hand, wouldn't it?
Pit window is now open, so it's going to be interesting to see who comes in and gets this compulsory tyre change out of the way as early as they can. Russell Ingall leading this one, Paul Morris in 2nd, Greg Murphy in 3rd. First of the Fords is Stephen Johnson in 4th. And we hear from the pits that Russell Ingall is scheduled to come in. So He's going to be the first to peel off.
The fastest lap so far has actually been done by Anthony Tratt, a 1:26.5.
1:27.85 Russell Ingall on the previous lap. We're on board with the enforcer. See if that pit call is right. There's his crew getting ready for the tyre change. So it's going to be interesting to see how much of this field peels off with Ingall.
And that'll be dictated very much on their decisions at the 11th corner where the pit lane entry is, because if you find yourself right under the bumper of somebody, you might peel off. And if you've got a bit of clear track, you may keep going.
Russell Ingall about to catch up with his teammate Larry Perkins. He's almost a lap down now. This is our race leader, 1:25.89, so he's really picked up the pace on that previous lap.
Just remember how crucial this is in terms of championship points between Russell Ingall and Mark Scaife. Ingall leading the field out. Of course, he's got 262 points to catch up on Scaife in the championship standings. There's 288 up for offer today as a few cars start to get busy in pit lane.
Stephen Johnson's gone in. Here's Mark Scaife. It's the only opportunity he's going to have to try and leapfrog the field. This is going to be a fascinating strategy. He came in when he was in 25th place. So he really got tangled up in that first corner drama. Here comes Stephen Johnson. He's back onto the track before Holden Racing Team. And Scaife's back into action as well.
This weekend also, they've got a new switch on the steering wheel for pit lane speed control. It's previously been just a sprung-loaded push button. Now it's actually a switch which is switched on at the entry and switched off at the exit.
I would imagine it'd be quite a bit of a handful trying to get the thing out the pits when they're getting it to sort of light up a bit and spin the wheels.
Yes, and that's one of the reasons why I think it's probably been implemented, to just try and calm that process down. Obviously that's... And Russell has now decided to come in, lap 4 of 32.
This man was talking about that pit lane exit speed, Barry, wasn't he? Russell Ingall just telling us the other night that it's really hard. The car sort of has to jolt down before it picks up speed and gets back out onto the lap. And that seems to be the major problem.
Yep. Not
Not only that, but also sitting there at 40 Ks as you're going through this. It's just a nightmare.
Yeah, the difficult part now, Matthew, is that you just can't launch them as quickly as you previously could.
Well, that's exactly right, Neil. We watched a couple of them come in and try to do exactly that. Now there's the top two have come in. Good stop here by Russell. And you can see as he's leaving pit lane there that it almost stalls. The car almost stalls as it leaves. The revs get right down low. But Paul Morris also came in to complete his stop. Then Tony Longhurst, I can tell you, has come in. There's a lot of damage to the right rear on that car, and the boys had to do a quick bit of panel work before they sent him out again.
And Greg, just to add a comment to that, if you actually go for too much throttle percentage when the car drops off the jacks, then that's what causes the drama. And I believe that out in the centre of the circuit, as we look at Murphy, Lowndes has gone off over there as well on the outside of the sweeper, and he had reached position 4 at that point. So it's all happening. Murphy's the new leader from Larkham, Bow, Lowndes, Tander, Tratt, Bernard, Bright, Romano and Ambrose, but remember, it'll all tumble around while these pit stops are in process.
Lowndes is stranded over there near the gum tree on turn 8. He's on the infield, and it looks like he just cannot get the car off that grass. It's like an ice skating rink out there. He's got no traction. Car just sitting still. Meanwhile, we're on board with Greg Murphy. He's coming for his stop now. Was the race leader for a few moments' time.
There's Craig Lowndes.
Look at that. There's
Gives
so
him
much
motorsport
water out
forward.
there.
And that sweeper is just deadly, isn't it? As you come around there, you're pushing quite a bit of speed into that left-hand turn, and Lowndes has obviously just steered straight through
Looks
it.
like a bit of a ding on the left-hand door. Oh, that's where it came from. This is him and Tander.
Contact with Tander.
That was the previous lap. He actually came off the sweeper.
Something just came off the car as well there, went off to the right of screen. So poor old Craig Lowndes. The last time we'll see this Ford, if all goes according to plan for Bathurst, he'll have a brand new Ford out of the Gibson Motorsport team.
Valvoline Cummins car in, it's Garth Tander. So Larkham now is race leader. We'll have to let these pit stops evolve and let the timing monitor catch up to give you a true track position.
It's almost a question there as you watch these cars leaving the pits that the gentler you drive, the better off you are.
Yeah.
The more aggressive you are, the worse it is.
Yeah, you have a good look at that. They're getting out virtually as quick, aren't they?
That's
and
right.
then the good thing about it is you don't have to get on the brakes to slow the thing back before going over 40 mile an hour.
In all the tumbling, this is the new race leader, Mark Larkham. He's got John Bauer right behind him. They're circulating at the moment in mid to high 25s. And one of the things that's happened here this weekend, because of the amount of rain on the circuit, is that it continues to get a wash and there's no rubber build-up, so it'll actually be reasonably hard on tyres at the moment. This is Russell Ingall doing battle with Greg Murphy, I believe.
Yeah, it is. Yes, it's
Well, there's cars sliding off all over the place. Paul Wheel, we hear, has come to grief in the K&J car.
Craig Lowndes are still stranded out there as well. So there's 2 cars on the infield of this track that are stranded. They haven't moved.
Scaife is quickest on the circuit at the moment, 24.3. He's down at 15.
That's an interesting view that when you see both cars in this battle here and we're looking at them from opposing directions. I actually have to get a slide ruler to figure that out, I think. Russell's got a little bit more pace than Greg there coming through turn 12, the final turn. You can see the pits are off to the left there, and coming down here to turn 1, you talked before, Matthew, about the difficulty. There's a big bump right there where they go across the old track at Winton, and it tends to upset the cars under brakes. It unweights the car at a critical moment. Very easy to lock a brake, very easy to go straight ahead.
We've still got some pit stops to evolve, but effectively we're looking at the battle for the lead here. As Greg Murphy and Russell Ingall have both made their stops. They were well up the road. Every car in front of them is yet to make their compulsory stop, so even though these 2 guys are running 9th and 10th or 8th and 9th on the road, they're effectively battling over the race lead.
Greg Murphy in the Kmart Commodore car number 51. He's had 3 third placings. In fact, everything seems to be going in 3s for Greg Murphy this year. A 3rd at round 3, a 3rd at round 6, and a 3rd at round 9.
But his missus did only have 1 baby.
And I bet you they're both happy about that. Of course, finished 3rd with Todd Kelly at the Queensland 500 and heads off to Bathurst in 4 weeks' time as a 2-time winner at Mount Panorama.
It's been an amazing weekend for Russell Ingall and the Castrol team so far. They go on board with Greg Murphy, who is, as I said, effectively a race leader. We still have some cars to peel off and make their compulsory stops in front of them on the track. But these guys will slowly move their way up the order.
Quite a bit of damage on the front left there of Greg's car, although I don't think it's going to have any effect on the performance of the vehicle. It doesn't take much of a knock in terms of the front geometry to change the balance of these cars, though.
Seeing the cat team there, all the cat guys say hello to Neil. Neil Barton, who's sitting at home watching this on television, and he wishes he was here. It's freezing cold here, Neil, so it's probably better in Queensland.
Neil was one of the cat team members who were injured in that incident at Oran Park. And everyone in the team, and everyone in the paddock wishing Neil a quick recovery. Great battle here, though. Greg Murphy and Russell Ingall locked in this battle.
A little bit of a late strategy call as far as the Stone brothers are concerned. They haven't gone with the trend, if you like, of stopping early. David Bernard has just come in and had his compulsory stop. The team tell me, I've just had a word to them, they're going to leave Marcus Ambrose out as long as they possibly can and let him take advantage of this clear track.
Well, remember that Marcus was one of those that went grass skiing at turn 1 at the opening corner, and so he now needs to kind of flip the traditional strategy because of that. And, this is actually turning into a pretty fascinating battle because it looks to me like Russell's got just a little more pace in a couple of places. Greg's got some other advantages. He's pretty strong in this part of the circuit, the old turn 1, turn 2. You can see that he's opened up the gap, but if you recall, when they were working through the last set of corners, Rusty was virtually in a position to be able to give him a tap.
One of the fastest cars on the track at the moment is Ambrose. 1:24.8 he did on lap 8. Still a few other cars. Scaife's gone a little bit quicker, so too Greg Murphy.
The fastest lap at the moment belongs to Paul Radicic, set in lap 6 at 1:24.333. As we take a look at Anthony Tratt, you just go back to Murphy versus Ingall, 2 drivers at the moment with nice clear heads, not only clear track. Murphy, there's Paul Radicic trying to get out of that bog on the infield.
No, I don't think so.
It just shows how slippery it is. A slick tyre on wet grass.
There has been a massive amount of rain here in the last few days. At night it's been extraordinary. See what happened?
Wouldn't be surprised to get a safety car out here soon. There's cars lying all over the place at the moment.
That started when he got up on the Ripple strip.
And they're painted, aren't they, Neil? They're very slippery.
That's just up at the top of Penrite. Should come out of the sweeper, so Paul Radicic stuck in the mud.
But it started when the car tripped up on the inside Ripple strip and launched up onto 2 wheels, and then he ended up on the outside Ripple strip with the rear brakes locked.
He's not going to give up, is he?
He's going to do it as well.
He's going to make it.
Look at that.
A good effort.
Lap 10 of 32.
It's a patience test when you sit there and
I can imagine
the car moves about 10 millimetres a minute.
Here's race leader Marcus Ambrose. Stone Brothers taking a punt on keeping him out there with a clear bit of track. 1:24.5.
And Rodney Forbes has gone off. And he's gone off on the outside of turn 5, the sweeper, which is the fastest corner on the circuit.
Ambrose 13.5 over McLean. Greg Murphy now up to 3rd place, so Abel Neese is pitted. Murphy, Ingall, Paul Morris, Scaife, Johnson. That's your top 5 effectively. once these guys have made their compulsory stops.
The danger with this gamble is that if something does happen in terms of safety car now, then Marcus is in plenty of strife.
Yes.
But that's the gamble that you have to play sometimes. If you know, when you're in a position where all of a sudden you don't have any strength, which is what happened with the turn 1 incident, you've got to be brave with the calls, and sometimes the brave get the goal.
As it stands, Ambrose is what? He's 23 seconds in front of Murph. So
it needs a lot more than that.
Oh, it needs about 40, what, 45, would you say? Something like that.
Well, slowing down and then trickling down pit lane at 40 k's and then stopping and then coming out at 40 k's. I mean, it's a long process.
The Greenfield Mowers Ford of Cameron McLean, his 3rd season in the V8 Supercars, and didn't he have an exciting weekend? One that he probably didn't want as far as excitement goes. He managed about 10 seconds of the first qualifying session before he got the spin happening straight out of turn 1. And here goes Ambrose in.
So they've decided to call him in.
Well, Ambrose is in, and I can tell you Cameron McLean is making his way in as well. This will be a crucial stop. I can see Russell Ingall making his way onto the pit straight behind Greg Murphy, so they have effectively taken over the lead. Murphy, and then Ingall, and Ambrose leaves the pits.
On board with Greg, and I noticed that in the shakeout of the pit stops, Paul Morris just lost a little bit of ground there, so he's in behind Scape now. So
Scape's done a good job.
You can do a clean
15th from Greg to 3rd.
Very true.
Great recovery from Mark Scape. Up to 3rd now, 6.1 seconds behind this battle for the lead. And the last time we looked at it, he was just starting to close the gap on these two. So let's have a listen and ride with Greg Murphy in the Kmart Commodore.
Turn 1 and turn 2 where it all starts to happen for Greg Murphy. As we take a look at the onboard telemetry, you'll see how busy the drivers are coming into this kick.
It's a deceptively fast track, Neil. When you look at some of those terminal speeds on these straights, you wouldn't think they'd be in excess of 200 k's, but it's up around 220, 230.
I was reserved in my answer there for a moment, Mark, because I thought we were actually about to see a shunt with Ambrose.
So did I.
Right into the back of John Bow. But yes, it is. It's well, these cars are fast. They're quite fast motor cars. They get mobile very quickly from a standing start. You know, they'll go 0 to 100 k's in under 4 seconds. They're pretty quick things.
Marcus Ambrose challenging John Bow. Bow in 9th, Ambrose in 10th. Larkenbach, Warner, Johnson, Bright, Morris. Well, Scaife, Ingall.
Oh, look at that. That was a good move. That was hot stuff. That was really good. Oh, was that a touch there?
Might have been just a little one. John gave him room. Obviously, he yielded to someone that he knew had more pace, and rather than end up in a contact situation, he left the space for Marcus if he could do it, and he did.
Each position here critical. Keep in mind the finishing order from this race determines the starting order for race 2.
Oh, hang on, does John have a problem?
Yeah. Problem in the Cat Ford of John Bow. Some smoke coming out of the back there, and that little battle between Marcus Ambrose and Bow. You've got Garth Tander behind him.
Engine problem. That's definitely a motor, isn't it? Oh, I don't know. There's none coming out this side.
Just continuing. Cameron McConville's in that battle as well. David Bernard, the second of the Stone Brothers Fords, bookending this bunch. The order: Murphy, Ingall, Scaife, 5.7 seconds. So Scaife is closing the gap in 3rd to that leading duo. Paul Morris still in 4th. Jason Breitbach, Warner, Johnson, Larkham, Marcus Ambrose, who is in 9th spot. John Bow in 10th.
So even on that last lap, including the pass on John, Marcus's time was a 24.8. That's pretty speedy.
So these guys,
in fact, at this stage of the race, that's massively quicker than anybody else. Like Murphy, for example, up the front in front of Russell, his last lap was a 26.1. Russell's a 26.1, Scaife a 26.2. So the times that Marcus is doing are pretty speedy.
Here we go, we're on board with Russell Ingall and the Castrol Commodores. We take a look forward at Greg Murphy. And up on the left of screen, you take a look back at Ingall's car. two drivers. Murph's just had a look around there just to make sure that everything's in order in the cockpit, and it seems to be. Greg Murphy leads, Russell Ingall from Mark Scaife, Paul Morris and Jason Bright making up the top 5 here. The rest of the top 10 is Bargwanna, Johnson, Larkham, Ambrose and John Bowe.
Just had a word to the Cat Racing team. Apparently John Bowe isn't reporting anything in the way of engine dramas. It's just a tyre rubbing on the guard. They're going to keep him out there.
Yeah, there must have been a little tap with Marks.
Well, as you were saying before, 126 Murphy's last time around. So the order still, Murphy and Ingall fighting over first, but Scaife continuing to make inroads on this battle. He'll come into view pretty soon. There he is just in the background, 5.3 seconds behind the battle for the lead. So Scaife has fought his way well back into contention after starting 15th. You've got to say the Holden Racing team have done a great job of getting themselves out of bad situations this year.
As you were saying before, look, Marcus Ambrose's time is the only guy in 25s consistently. 24 the previous laps. Good going, isn't it?
Yeah, they seem to have their car working extremely well. Here's Morris, who is currently running 4th, and he lost a little bit of ground in the pit stops, it seems.
Marcus Ambrose is charging. He's up to 7th now. He's just overtaken Stephen Johnson. The Pertic Falcon really on a charge. There it is. Disposed of Johnson. He's got Bargwanna in his sights now. Bargwanna's in 6th, so Marcus Ambrose working himself into a very competitive starting position.
That.
Here he is.
That's exactly the same place as he got JB.
Yep. So he's found a favourite overtaking spot.
Same result.
Little love tap. It's Jason Bright running in 4th spot.
Again, a pretty handsome recovery when you consider that Jason was one of those that had to take to the pastures.
They just got massive speed, race speed, these cars. And it's been such a big factor, not only their slick pit work, but they've got such good pace during the race, they can really fight their way back.
Jason Bright so consistent, of course, as we take a look at Paul Romano. And then Bright will come through behind him. Bright's 2nd in the championship series, but hasn't been on the podium since back at round 4.
Yes.
Ambrose goes again on the inside.
Bargwanna was wise to that, but he still gave him enough room.
And there's Jason Richards.
That's a shame.
Into the trap. Has he got enough to get out of it? Oh, that's a miracle. Nobody managed to do that through our qualifying, but Richards has.
See cars going left, right and centre. There's a lot of dirt and slippery stuff getting dragged onto the bitumen as well, so that wouldn't be helping the situation. But Marcus Ambrose has done it. Got past Bargwanna. So Ambrose now up to 6th. He's really on a charge.
Just listening to Marcus Ambrose's car as it came past the pit wall moments ago. It does sound like it's got not a misfire, but almost something close to that. Now, the team have been in conversation with Marcus. They believe what may have happened is that he's clipped the curb and maybe bent the exhaust system, and it's creating a bit of an odd noise for him at the moment. It's certainly not slowing the car down. Marcus is reporting the car is going like a jet.
Yeah, Marcus, it's Barry. Can you hear me? Marcus, it's Barry. Can you hear me?
I think he can hear you, Barry, but we can't hear him.
Yeah, Marcus, if you can hear, put your thumb up. You can't talk back, Marcus.
Well, that's a good thing if you can't hear me.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah, good, lovely. We got you now. Marcus, have you got you're flying, but have you got any problems with the motor? It sounds a bit funny.
Yeah, mate, it's a bit of a rattler at the moment. I think we've put a big hole in the exhaust on one of these big flamers.
Well,
Can you hear
you're going quick.
But, so I reckon we can bring it home. It hasn't lost too much speed. Should be okay.
I tell you, the first corner excursion, after getting out of that, they should call you Houdini.
Mate, I've been rattling pretty hard out here, you know. It's easy to make a mistake in the first corner. I just got hung out to dry, really.
Marcus, it's Mark Oasley. You're fighting for a good starting position here too, so if you can get in front of those Holden Racing Team cars, it'll be a great spot for race 2.
Mate, I'm going to try and get it for race 1.
Marcus, Matty White here, mate. Well, this circuit doesn't seem to bother you, even though you've never driven around it before.
No, this is my first time around here, so it's been a very interesting couple of days. And even in the race, you know, the start of the race was the first time I've been on heavy tanks, and you know, it was a bit of a dog on handling, but you know, once the fuel comes out of it, we're going good. So I'm learning every lap and enjoying it too, guys.
I bet. We're enjoying it too. Tell me, Barry Sheen drove your car a few days ago. It looks like he's bent the bottom of your steering wheel.
Mate, I'm half tempted to put him in as a co-driver for Bathurst.
They're all winding me up, Marcus. They said if the car blows up today, it's because you over-revved it. OK, we'll leave you to it, Marcus. Best of luck.
OK, don't forget, guys, Barry did nothing wrong with this car. It's going good.
Okay.
You're in the clear, Barry. Poor old Craig Lowndes certainly isn't. Marcus Ambrose is having a terrific time out there. And as he said about Bathurst, well, that seat still hasn't been filled, has it? He'll have a new partner in 4 weeks' time at Bathurst as they also put Rodney Forbes' car on the truck and take it back. So we've had quite a few casualties today. We've had Seaton, Lowndes, Forbes, Wheel, Jason Richards.
Brad Jones is out.
8 laps to go.
This is going to be a good one.
So the safety car's out of the way. Keep your eyes on turn 1. We know that that's drama. This is the V8 Supercars about to hit turn 1. You've got Greg Murphy leading in Russell Ingall. Well, nice and clean throughout there.
Keep your eyes on that Pertec Falcon. He's breathing down the neck of Paul Romano now on the Holden Young Lions Commodore. Ambrose, will he try and pounce in this first corner? Here he comes down the inside. Romano gives him room, so now he's got a clear run at the Holden Racing Team duo.
This should be good fun when he gets there.
Yeah, they're going to expect a big fight from the Holden Racing Team, fighting desperately for championship points here. Critical championship round with Bathurst coming up, then the race in New Zealand, the big final at Sandown.
Remember, they got Larry, I think, mixed up in here as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Larry's a lap down. He started Nicky Romano, just gets pushed a little bit wide as they come up toward the gum tree once again through the very tight complex, turns 7, 8 and 9. And here is the man of the moment, Marcus Ambrose. He's pounced on the back of Jason Bright in car 2.
Be interested to see if he goes for his favourite little place again, wouldn't it?
Yeah, favourite passing spot into turn 7. He's taken a number of cars there.
It's so good how he can keep a tight line through there, though, isn't it?
I'm just so impressed with the pace of the car, Baz. Like, he's just been punching out such consistently fast
Still at
laps.
the back. There's all sorts of trouble. John Bower caught in there as well.
Cameron
And
McConnell.
David Bernard's gone off.
Oh, boy.
3 cars involved in that one.
That was a fairly massive shunt as well, right at the back of the field.
They come across the start-finish line once again. Murphy with his hands full. Russell Ingall just waiting for the slightest mistake from the Kmart driver, and he'll be through. There's Mark Scaife in behind him.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if that Lansvale Smash Repairs Commodore of Cameron McConville has actually managed to get back and going on that track, because he seemed stuck. No movement as yet. Here's the trouble. So Bow comes into shot.
One of the Valvoline cars has made contact with Bow, and then Bernard and McConville have all got into it.
Caught in the crunch behind the Kmart Commodore.
And how lucky was McConville not to get hit by another car. Here's another replay from lower down.
Yeah, the trouble had already started just then. And also, Paul Radicic just managed to avoid the trouble there. So you'll see the trouble there, right there. That's McConville stuck in the middle. And up to the top of the screen, you'll see McConville's car. Bingo.
Oh, that's the same thing that's happened to Cam's car at Queensland Raceway, wouldn't it? The thing was almost flipped over.
Look at the damage on the front of Todd Kelly's
Look
car.
at that, Todd Kelly's thing.
It's like it's in a telegraph pole.
Oh, it's a wonder if thing's still running when you think about it, and it's gone in far enough to have...
Massive damage. Look at Ambrose now.
So both the Kmart Commodores have got a little bit of trouble, but Kelly's got a lot more trouble than Greg Murphy, who still leads this race, and David Bernard.
Bright was very defensive down into turn 11 that time, so Ambrose is really putting pressure on. And the last time through, all the key players were in the mid-25s with the exception of Bright. He looks like he might be just slightly struggling for pace.
If he wants to get it back, he's got to go a bit slower with that thing.
Well, the rear tyre of that is absolutely shot. David Bernard just had to fight it to get around that corner.
Continue behind the safety car. There's Tony Longhurst out of the Rodnash Racing. Big slaps on the back for the Kmart team.
Because Greg Murphy has taken out this race victory. Russell Ingall and Mark Scaife will fill positions 2 and 3. Now, the reason why the safety car went out and then the red flag came out is because of a series of events that started with Tony Longhurst really having a heavy dent. Watch him here. He gets tangled up with a Shell Helix car and ends up smack bang into the wall on the driver's side.
Good old wallop as well.
The mirror went, and so did Longhurst's hopes. From the other angle on the Shell Helix replay, you just see they got spin around, and that's a big time shunt into the wall. So that's what started the series of events. There was a couple of others as well. Stephen Richards got spun around. He managed to get himself out of trouble there. So drama aplenty, and we only had about 28 laps gone at that stage. Remember, this is a 32-lap race. Also, James Brock lost a wheel as we were under yellow flag as well. So that race has been decided. Greg Murphy is your winner.
Well, Greg Murphy, what a result. I tell you what, that race with all the yellow flags, etc., it must have made it so hard for you.
Yeah, it was, well, I mean, it's always good when you get a bit of a breather, and but, you know, we were quite comfortable. The last 10 laps may have been, I don't know, Russell was pushing pretty hard, but I seemed to have him under control. But, you know, the first pace car closed the gap up quite well. There's lots of cars behind us who are obviously trying pretty hard too, so who knows what may have happened, but we finished first, and that was the idea, so we're very happy.
Yeah, great result, the team. I know Rob seems to be quite pleased.
Well, I mean, they should be patting themselves on the back, because we were third going to the pit stop, and we came out first, so it was a great effort by them, and they deserved the win.
Oh, Russell's pretty fired up today, mate. I reckon he might face a bit of pressure in race 2.
Yeah, well, you know, he was putting under pressure, and Russell and I, you know, we know each other's driving, and we're not going to do anything silly. I knew he wouldn't do anything silly. If he was going to pass, he would have been in a position to pass, and if he'd been in a position he'd made a move, then I would have, you know, given him room. But so far we were right.
Well done, Murph.
Thanks, mate.
Russell Ingall fired up. You bet he is. Mate, you got your first pole in V8 Supercars and a second in that race. Good job.
Yeah, no, pretty happy. I wish 2 weeks ago the race ended like that, under a pace car. But look, yeah, no real problems. I mean, for some reason, I know Murph must have done a really good pit stop, because you know, we probably had 8-10 seconds coming into the pits, and somehow he pulled out in front of me. So they must have done a dynamite stop.
Now, how do you take it from here? Of course, you're alongside him for the next race. Yeah. Where's it going to happen if it does happen?
Mate, there's no time to be cautious here. You know, we've got to go for wins. We've got to get wins, especially with those two red rigs cruising around the back of us as well. We've got to go for the win, so normally that means desperation.
Well, there's been plenty of elbows out action in the first race. It looks like they're going to be some for the second race. Best of luck to you, Russell.
Trust me.
That's the good news, isn't it? We've still got one more race to go here as they're cleaning up the track at Winton. In terms of Championship Series points, Russell Ingall has closed the gap on Mark Scaife by only 30 points, and I told you things come in threes. That is Greg Murphy's third race win of this series. So Murphy, Ingall, Scaife, Bright, Ambrose, Morris, Bargwanna and Johnson.
Mark Larkham and Garth Tander rounded out the top 10. Todd Kelly, Stephen Ellery, Anthony Tratt 13th, Cameron McLean, Paul Radisich and John Faulkner in 16th.
Quite incredible, isn't it? The rain came down and caused all sorts of chaos. No rain in race 1 here at round 10, but still plenty of drama. Come back and join us